the club shaft. Then we're going to take pull halfway back in the backswing. And he's already early extended. Ooh. Now let's go back a couple of frames because we've got to put that slot up. Okay, so he's already lost his posture, his shoulders are turning flat. Interesting slot for Paul, but again he's told us that he comes over the top. That slot would be quite difficult to get it in. Okay, Paul does know his golf game. Okay. Can you play that through? Okay, come back a little bit. Do one more, up. Okay, all right. So down the line, we pretty much nailed all of those, yes? All right, let's go face on. So let's draw a sway line up the outside of the trail leg. So then right-handed golfer, that's the right leg. Now up the lead leg. All right, let's draw the swimming pool line through his hips for the early release cast. Let's take Paul to the top of the backswing. Okay, let's draw a box around his head and a box around his hips. Now in 3D, if we were to did you do any 3D? Have you done any 3D? You didn't see Steve, did you?
No.
Okay. I think Lance and Jason were both attest. That's probably got a little bit of backward bend in there in the thorax, don't you think, Lance?
Pretty vertical, so.
Vertical on video, a lot of times when you do it in 3D, you've got 3 to 4 to 5 degrees of backward bend, reverse spine. So video, that's what we said yesterday, can be a little subjective. So it's borderline. All right, let's see. So, is that lagged, that club, or is that kind of sort of casting a little bit? Casting a little bit, right? Okay. Okay, now is that scooping? Absolutely. Is he hanging back? Oh, holy hooks. We've got quite a few of these. All right, so is there anything on there that we didn't think was going to be on there based on the physical screen? Correlates quite nicely, doesn't it? Now, we talked about the pink elephant, the red elephant, whatever color elephant you want it to be, of what's the hierarchy of needs here, of the priority of how do we get things to be better. So I'm a bit old school in that I always kind of like to know everything starts with the setup. So statically, I always want to know what's the biggest bang for the buck I can get with a golfer. And someone who's a 19 handicapper, a lot of times I want to try and get them to address the ball a little bit better, or at least see if their posture and the way they address the ball and then how that affects the swing dynamically. Because at the end of the day, Paul, we know, has some limitations, but this golfer generally doesn't move prior to setup. Now, he doesn't have S posture, as was allegedly told us in the screen. I would say he has what type of posture? He has a lot of C posture, and he absolutely could not touch his toes either. Okay, so he has a hip hinge issue, and now you can see we have even more C posture coming through, and he kind of extends into the ball. Now, there are lots of ways to skin a cat, but I would argue that if we could address the posture and the hip hinge a little bit, he might actually be able to stay in his posture better through the shot, back and through, which would lead to less of the deviation in his spine angle, less of him having to stand up, obviously, then throw his arms and do that excessive cast and scoop. Now, that's very elementary, but we always remember, we want to give the golfer something that they're actually able to do that doesn't necessarily involve a whole lot of technical stuff. Well, just because we have great information, we don't need to give it all out. So if I was going to help Paul try and improve his 19 handicap, get rid of some of his slice initially, I think he'd need to improve his posture through the ball a little bit so we could work on his alignments, because at the end of the day, the club and the face interaction to the ball are what's responsible for the slice. So if we can improve those, he's not going to slice it as much. So, Paul, you're going to be fortunate enough that the great Lance Gill is actually going to work a little bit on your posterior